Welcome to the 323 podcast, where we look at how faith and work intersect. Each week, we talk to business leaders and difference makers about honoring God in the way we lead, create, and serve, because in everything we do, our work can reflect the one we serve. Erik Rayo is the owner of ChristianOutlets.com, an online and brick-and-mortar Christian store right here in El Paso. What makes Erik's story so interesting is that just a few years ago, he was on a completely different path. He was on the path to become a neurosurgeon. Today, he sees ministry as his life's work. After coming to faith in 2020 during one of the hardest seasons of his life, Erik felt called not just to study the Bible, but to build something that would unite and strengthen the Christian community here in El Paso. Erik, welcome to the 323 podcast.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Your calling was a little different than what you expected it to be. You once planned on becoming a neurosurgeon, and that shifted. Can you tell me a little bit about how that change happened and how God called you out of medicine and into the life of a business owner?
Yes, of course. So we all have a past, right? We all make bad decisions. Coming to Christ, most of us have to fall in a very bad situation in order for us to realize that life cannot work our way, right?
We need to know we need Him.
Yes, exactly. So I was in that situation where I felt pretty bad. I wanted to be into law enforcement first. However, my mom was deported to Juarez.
Oh, wow.
And with a type of record like that in your family, you really can't. So coming from a bad past, I wanted to change my life and help people instead. So I always had this passion to help people do something for others, because if you really look for it, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of people that are willing to help all the time. And so what I did after not being able to go into law enforcement, I decided to study and become a neurosurgeon. So I was, doing my best in school in EPCC. The doctors started to invite me in order to work with them and teach the students. So I was in EPCC studying and teaching students at the same time. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon to help people. But when I ran into God in a bad situation that I was in. I mean, I don't have a biological dad. My grandpa passed away. My mom was deported.
And how old were you when your mom got deported?
I was about 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such an important time in any child's life, but especially young men. They need their family. They need support structures during those years. So you were pretty much on your own.
Yeah, I was on my own, and then after my mom got deported, I was with my grandpa for a while, but then he passed away, so I was alone. And then I was also at that time of 2020 when I converted to Christianity, I went through a breakup too, so I was literally alone, and I had all the time in the world. I was working and studying, but as much of us know, we always need someone to talk to. We always need someone to rely on. And not being a Christian, I mean, you can talk to people, but then you still feel that void inside of you, right? So my mom told me to go to a Christian church. And so I went to a Catholic church, but it was COVID-19. They were closed. Then I called the first Christian church that popped up. A pastor answered. And he told me, yeah, I can meet you within 1 hour.
Wow.
And it was not a Sunday. It was not a Wednesday. It was not a typical day of church service. But the pastor offered his help, and I met him at the church. He heard me. He spoke to me. There's things that we're always not going to tell someone right away, but God knows exactly what you need to listen to. And that's what started happening in my life. Like every single time I would visit his service, God would speak to me. And the weird part is that it was COVID-19. It was literally the pastor, his wife, his kids, and me alone in that church. And me going through what I was going through, I didn't even realize that it was just me alone in that church, just me and basically the pastor. Because his family, they were little kids. They would go to the nursery area while he was preaching. So he was preaching just to me.
Wow.
So through that, I've always had this business mindset of wanting to do a business,
Mm-hmm.
especially also because since I couldn't get into law enforcement,
Mm.
I I wanted to live somehow,
Yeah.
do it, you know, make a living a certain way. And so when I started church at the same time, I was doing business. I already had a website, but I was selling jewelry.
Okay.
And at the same time, I got this feeling that being a Christian, it was not just for me,
Mm.
but it was for others.
Yeah.
A Christian is not just someone that studies and keeps it to themselves and goes to church and goes back home. It's someone that is living like Jesus, and Jesus would go out everywhere,
Yeah.
wanting everyone to be saved. That's what God does. He wants everyone to come to salvation, to go to heaven, right? So I was like, how can I be a Christian and also have this business and do that? So I'm a very shy person.
Mm.
I don't like attention at all. And I was like, in order to do what God is calling me to do, to be a Christian, I need to get out of this. So at the same time, I joined acting and modeling,
Wow.
and I didn't like it because I don't like attention, but I set it for myself to get out of that shyness, to be in front of people, to
Right.
be in front of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that way I can reflect a Christian Jesus to everyone.
Yeah.
And when I was in modeling, I would tell God, whoever, if you put me in front of 50 people, in front of 100 people, 200, I will tell them all about you. So he started putting me in a lot of places, and
Wow.
I would do what I said. I would tell everyone. Everyone knew that I was a Christian. I would bring models and actors to church, and
Wow. That's so great.
yeah, and then after that, I was still studying to be a neurosurgeon, but at the same time, I kind of understood that as a neurosurgeon, you can be at the hospital and helping people, but the person that you're going to be helping is going to be asleep.
Mm-hmm.
You can help people, and it's a very important job. But I was thinking to myself, how can I actually save people's lives? Because that can cure them from a
Mm.
disease. But as a Christian, you understand that salvation is much greater than a disease.
Yeah.
You know, it has to come from Jesus alone.
Mm.
And eternity is way more important than being healed from a disease here on earth.
Yeah.
So I understood that being a Christian was the most important job for me to do.
Yeah.
Being a fisher of men, like Jesus says,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then, sorry if we're talking and talking.
No, you're doing great.
Yeah, but then I understood that being a Christian was the most important thing for me to do. And I was seeing how God was putting all these things together, the modeling, the
Yeah.
acting, the business, and I was like, how can I put all these things together? So I got the feeling that, the gifts that God gives you, they're for a reason. You need to use them for others.
Yeah.
And so I decided to make something with all this that I know, give it to God and do something with it. So then God put in me to have all these things, a Christian store,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought for myself that I was going to have this when I was like 40 something, 50
You thought it was
something.
the long-term goal,
Yeah.
and God kind of brought that to fruition a little sooner.
Yeah, a little sooner. And I didn't, when I first started in that church that I was telling you, God took me out of that church, and then he sent me to another one, and then to another one, and then to another one. And for some reason, God would always put me like in front of a lot of pastors.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why am I being set like in front of all these people? And God was just taking me places, and I was like, I mean, I'm just doing what I told him to do in front of anyone that I met. I'm gonna be a reflection of Jesus,
Yeah.
right? So then I started going through those type of scenarios and getting to know the El Paso community through the business side, through modeling and
Mm-hmm.
acting, but also the community, the Christian community through God, who was putting me in different churches. So then all these things came together, and I initially wanted to have the Christian store just online
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, if you have it online, you can be at the beach
Yeah,
and
that's right.
be doing business,
That's
and
right.
and so initially I wanted to put Christian outlets. It was just online,
Yep.
and I sell in Walmart, eBay. I was selling in Amazon, all these marketplaces, and I wanted to integrate local business Christian owners in the website,
Got it.
but I just couldn't make sense of it. I was
Mm.
like, how? Why would I do that, like in online, if ministry is done in person?
Mm.
Like when I got saved, it was because I talked to someone in person.
Yeah.
Why? Because I needed someone to talk to in person. Like,
Yeah.
we're social creatures. We need to have someone that we can see, that we can talk to.
Yeah,
That
and so much of our culture right now is being pushed online. I mean, our
yeah.
teenagers, our kids are spending time on social media and video gaming, and our all of these digital apps that we can stay so connected to people, near and far. But there is a level of connection that I think God intends us to have as humans that you cannot have through the devices, through digitally. So I think you're so right in that. Making that personal connection is so valuable, and I think it's great. I think there's so many great Christian businesses out there who are have an online presence, who are doing great things. But sometimes God calls us to something different. So tell me a little bit about how you went from ChristianOutlets.com to the store, the brick and mortar store here in El Paso.
So God put it in me that, for like you were saying, everyone has a different purpose. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's different churches here in El Paso, and one person might like one over another. Because that's where God wants them to be.
Yeah,
If all of us in El Paso would go to the same church, we wouldn't fit, right? And
that's true.
so God has a purpose for everything. So it went from ChristianOutlets.com to a brick and mortar, not because I wanted it to, but because that's what the ministry of God was calling me to do.
Mm,
I've always had this passion for God to do ministry, to put Him first, to do, if it's up to me, I would do ministry 24/7, every
that's so
single
cool.
day, at night, in the morning, at 3 a.m. when someone is feeling down. I want to be there for people. So I would always try to do Bible studies, but everyone would be busy.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, let's do a Bible study on Friday. No, well, it's because I have this going on with the family. I was like, okay, what about Tuesday? No, well, it's because this, so I was like, I really want to give my full life to
Mm,
Jesus, every single day. How can I integrate that? And then it popped in my head, well, the store,
yeah.
the Christian store. I was like, if I have a place where I'm there and it's my living, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also my ministry, I could be there for people. People can come when the churches are closed, like
Yep.
say for a random Tuesday at 1 p.m., the church is closed, but the store is going to be open. You
Yeah.
guys can come. We can do Bible study. We can talk. It's nice because at the store, at, it seems like almost at least once a day there's someone that cries from telling their
Oh, wow.
testimony, from, we're talking about God, and
That's
it's
so cool.
very nice in the store. We talk about God all the time.
I love it. It's a safe place. People
Yeah,
know they can go and be loved.
yeah,
So
exactly.
tell me about some of the products you're selling both
Mhm.
online and in the brick and mortar store.
So in the brick and mortar, we have everything from apparel to Christian decorations to Bibles, books, books for kids, plush toys for kids. So one of my actual favorite product in the store is a teddy bear that says prayers. It's a prayer bear.
Oh,
So it has, like prayer for food, prayer for good night. It's beautiful, and we have so. I decided to integrate different local business Christian owners
okay.
because it's not just about selling. It's about uniting the Christian community,
Yeah.
right? So, of course, it would be a more profit if I just take all the profit for myself, but
Mm,
it's not really about the profit. It's for something that we're doing for God. It's about Him.
right.
It's about His body, right? So, what I decided was to bring the community together, bring different local business Christian owners.
Mm-hmm.
So we have apparel from a graphic designer that she designs herself, like
Oh,
the
wow.
clothing. We have candles that are homemade from two ladies, Chale Canico from Las Cruces. They
Uh-huh.
make their own candles. The vendor that is there for the clothing, it's Red Letter Co. And we have ceramics from Eden's Pottery that he makes. He was teaching in UTEP how to make ceramics. We have
Wow.
books from different pastors or from, different, like a business owner that's Jeannie Riddle and her husband James Riddle. We have different vendors that are coming in, like Server Day. And, it's about integrating everyone together.
Yeah.
It's not just about looking to see what you think is right, but it's what God thinks is right,
Yeah.
what God wants. And God wants us to be united. The Bible says a house divided against itself will not stand.
Yeah.
And as Christians, we cannot separate it just because we don't like it.
Yeah.
We have to be open to everyone. As long as it's spirit-led,
Yeah.
we have to be open to everyone, and anyone can come, whether they're Christian, whether they're non-Christian.
Yeah.
It's open to everyone. It's a safe place, like you said.
Yeah, that's so great. So tell me about some of the challenges you faced, and some of the tools you employed as you learned to become a business owner. I'm always so excited to see young people who are excited about business, and especially integrating their faith into their business. That's exactly what we're all about here at the 323 podcast. So tell me, how did you learn to become a business person?
Well, I started very young. I mean, first, I'm going to say that being a business owner and being a Christian at the same time is a little harder, that
Yeah.
when people might think, because the business world is very tough,
Yeah.
right? In this world, to be realistic, we live in a world where money is a priority for a lot of people,
Yeah.
right? So being a Christian, you need to learn how to do things God's way
Yeah.
and not the world's way. But I first started business selling candies to kids when I was in 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
So I was selling, like, I would go to Juarez, and then I would sell the candies to the kids. And then from there, when I was in high school, I got some motorcycle for myself, and then I sold it. And then I started selling motorcycles and then cars and
wow.
trucks, so I've always sold something,
Yeah.
and then when it came to like doing it bigger, I wanted to like have that Christian store and an online store, because then you could sell to the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
And I did sell to like New Zealand, France, Italy, and
Wow.
like through the online store.
Mm-hmm.
So being here in El Paso locally wasn't really in my plans, but
And I think that's the story for many of us.
Yeah.
Either we didn't expect to stay or we didn't expect to come back. But there's
Yeah.
something about the borderland that just draws us back and keeps us here, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a community, and it's beautiful when you really get to know the people, because like we're saying, like in the store, there's a lot of different people that come from different churches. And there's been pastors that come and you start worshiping right there because they feel the spirit. There's people that come, that they pray. They pray in a video that I put in TikTok. There's people that are coming from different churches and praying over the store, praying over me, and it's beautiful to see the unity that comes in.
Yeah.
So it's it's very nice to see the passion that people have for God and the love that God inspires in people.
Yeah. So tell me, every new business faces challenges. What are some of the challenges you faced, and how has your faith helped pull you through those?
So challenges that you face as a business owner, it's left and right. It's every day. So there's a lot of challenges, from learning how to apply, for example, to sell in Walmart. You need to have everything straight. You need
Yeah.
to have your business registered. You have to have a trademark for your logo and things like that. So you spend a lot of time just looking up how to conquer all these obstacles, but then also there's a lot of stuff that is not on your hands. There's a lot of things that you have to rely on others, in order for them to, in order for your business to keep going. For example, this issue that we're going through right now, the store is temporarily closed because we need an LED sign.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get the LED sign, you need to get a permit, right, from the city. But then the LED sign has to be structured in a certain way. And you have to have an electrical license for that, and everything has to be set and, like very perfectly. And it might not be as easy as a lot of people think.
Yeah.
That's why the store, like, if it was up to me, the store wouldn't be closed.
Yeah.
But those things are things that are out of our hands because I just had to put my trust in that LED company and the city and the landlords and
Yeah.
all of them to work together. Because I can't put the LED sign up myself. It has to be that company that's,
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things that we have to work with others,
Mm-hmm.
So as Christian, it's always good to, one of the best things that I learned in my life is that there's always going to be someone that you struggle to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
because you don't like each other or something. But as Christians, we're always taught to love them,
Yep.
and that has been something that has always helped me in business, loving everyone,
Yeah.
even if they don't like you, even if, just showing them that love, because then, it ends up being that when you love that person, they're going to come back and, help you out.
Yeah.
Sometimes God tests us in that
Yeah.
way,
That's true.
putting the person that is going to help us the most against us,
Yeah.
that way we can, shift that situation, show them love, and work everything
Yeah.
through love,
That's awesome.
the right way. So,
I would love to hear a little bit about your hopes. Like, what do you hope that this store does for our community?
so my hope is to unite the Christian community through this store.
Mm.
Um, So just like we're seeing different pastors, brothers and sisters, coming to the store, we have them coming from Las Cruces, from Odessa. People literally drive four
Wow.
hours and 30 minutes just to come to the store, which shows the passion that God is putting on people, for Him. And the mission is to, what I'm doing right now that the store is we're locked out of the store, is that I'm visiting different churches, different
Mm.
ministries, different Bible studies, and it doesn't have to be. I've mostly visited small ministries.
Mm.
I've gone to big churches too, but just connecting with the Christian community,
Yeah.
because you go to one church, just like I started in one church. God taught me a lot of things there.
Yeah.
I went to another. God taught me a lot of things there, so you go connect with a lot of people and you learn that everyone is doing it for Jesus.
Yeah.
Like, even if we're in different levels of understanding or interpreting the Bible in a certain way because we haven't read it all, we don't understand it all. You see that people have this love, this passion for Jesus,
Yeah.
that they're showing it as best as they can.
Yeah.
They sincerely are putting their faith in Jesus and trying to live as Christians as best as they can.
Yeah.
So it's something that, the mission keeps going forward. God's mission is to put His body, the kingdom is here at hand. We just grab it, have our faith in Jesus, and love one another as Christians, just like the greatest commandment Jesus says,
Yeah.
that the greatest commandment is to love Him,
Yep.
with all that we have, and to love one another.
Yeah.
So that's the mission, to put the greatest commandment on,
I love it.
yeah.
Love it. Many business owners, we find ways to integrate our faith into our businesses. But for you, your faith is your business. So
Yeah.
it's such an inspiration. Your passion and energy as a young business owner are an inspiration. If people want to find out more about you and about the store, where can they find out?
So they can find us in any social media platform at Christian Outlets. So if you look up Christian Outlets in TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, you will find us there. If you look up in Google Christian Outlets, our website will pop up too.
Okay.
Or different vendors that have been putting their products in our store. They make videos, so you'll see the different vendors too. Our physical location here in El Paso, Texas is 9640 Mount Wood Drive, Suite F300.
Okay.
And it's right in front of the Eastwood High School and next to the fire station in McRae and Mount Wood.
Awesome. So that's Christian Outlets with an S .com. So ChristianOutlets.com.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, we are going to be praying for you during this season as you launch and work to get that store reopened. And we're just excited to see really great things from you in the years to come. Erik, thank you so much for being on the 323 podcast.
Thank you for having me.
If God is writing a story in your workplace, we'd love to hear about it. You can share it with us by visiting 323podcast.com. That's the numbers 323podcast.com. We'll be back again next week with more great conversations on connecting your Sunday faith to your Monday life. Until then, may God bless your work this week. May He renew your strength, deepen your joy, and remind you that you're serving Him in all you do.